Get into the action all summer long. Listen to that. Summer.
Woo!
The season's over. The NHL season's over. The NBA season's over. But there's still lots happening at Sports Interaction, including we got the draft coming up. We got free agency coming up for both of those sports, plus tennis, golf, whatever it is you're into, baseball, all happening right now at sportsinteraction.com/SDPN.
You can bet on those things. You can bet on free agency and draft.
Exactly. And we're going to actually throw a bunch of props up in the Dangles Doozy section as well. And remember, everything's you can do before games, live and play all summer long. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN or download the app to get started. It's 19 plus. Please play responsibly.
It's not the Vegas Golden Knights' fault that every team 6 years ago decided to get fleeced. Nearly every team.
Get robbed.
It also didn't look like that at the time.
No, it didn't.
No one saw William Karlsson scoring 40 goals.
No one saw what Chandler Stevenson was going to be.
No, it was like, oh, cool. You got a second round pick 3 years from now and like 80 fourth round picks. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, and all these guys, there's retreads from these teams. And
oh, look, they traded Nick Suzuki. What a dumbass. And, but they were uniquely set up in terms of assets because of the expansion draft, and also key, oh man, this Vegas team, they're so deep. Part of the reason they look so deep is because they didn't have to expose anybody to Seattle in the next expansion draft. And I gotta say, I don't love the salary cap. Alan Walsh loves to talk about the triple hard salary cap.
We got an episode coming out
triple
tomorrow.
hard cap.
The triple hard cap.
T-shirts coming soon.
Yeah,
I gotta say though, actually,
Yeah.
oh nice. I gotta say, for the fact that it's a triple hard cap, gosh, it seems malleable. The Vegas Golden Knights, no one massages that thing like the Vegas Golden Knights, dude. Maybe even better than Tampa.
There's a reason they acquired Shea Weber and then traded him. Remember last year?
Where does he even play now?
That's crazy.
Well, where does his contract exist?
He's an Arizona Coyote, I believe.
Cool. Good for him. No. Oh, yeah. Didn't he took the ice for the Golden Knights, and he had like gloves and stuff. He was at like a practice.
He was at your favorite place in the world, Henderson.
With the Silver Knights.
With the Silver Knights, and he was on the ice, and then some of the executives, I believe this story's out there, but some of the executives made a call to the league being like, you have to go check in, you have to do one of those medical check-ins on Shea Weber so we can make sure that he's actually injured and can't play.
They would have had Kyle Dubas stuffed in a trunk for that.
Yeah, because the executives around the league have been getting tighter with the LTIR stuff and checking in to see if players are actually eligible. And when they saw Shea Weber out there with the Henderson Silver Knights, they made the call and they're like, okay, go in and do a check so you actually can't play.
I mean, there's been some shady business. Like I brought it up last show. Mike Smith, regular season, Stanley Cup playoffs. I can't play anymore. I retire. I can't play anymore.
I don't know what the move would have been, guys, but in 2019, the Calgary Flames made a real push and almost had Don Maloney went on Sportsnet and almost said it was done. They had a deal in place for Mark Stone. When
The Flames.
The Flames did.
Didn't they almost have a deal for Eichel as well?
They did.
Wait, the Flames had a deal to get him from Ottawa or from Vegas?
From Ottawa.
Oh, wow.
In 2019, and Vegas was
Vegas
the one that ended up winning.
Vegas.
No, if they had a deal from Vegas, it would be free. Here you go.
Dude, two back surgeries in 9 months, and he scores a hat trick.
Yep. Do you know?
Want to do the stat?
Well, do you know the stat off the top of your head? Let's see.
Well, it's either the first hat trick in a Cup final game or the first hat trick in a Stanley Cup clinching game.
First hat trick in a Stanley Cup clinching game in how many years?
101.
Who scored the last one?
Fucking Leviticus Cornwall.
No. Babe Die.
Babe Die. Wow.
Toronto Maple Leaf great, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Toronto St. Pat great, actually. Because we got to get specific. Anyway, long story short, I think there's so much about Vegas winning that is unbelievable. And that's why I asked you last episode to get to these finals, what can you replicate? And I think you guys kind of hit the nail on the head there. It's difficult to replicate an expansion draft where a bunch of uncreative GMs can't see the writing on the wall. Mm-hmm. The one thing I'll say about the Leafs at that expansion draft, I was completely at the time and still am against what they did in the Seattle expansion.
Yeah.
But the expansion that they did back then, first off, they weren't that good, so there weren't that many players to protect. And a lot of the players weren't ELCs, so you didn't have to protect Matthews, Marner, Nylander.
There were a lot of eligible guys, yeah.
But they kind of stuck. They were
ineligible.
Stick handling their way around that. It was like a nothing pickup for Vegas, and it turned out to be really, really great.
It was a decent time to be in a rebuild, actually.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's if you look at just the players who were important on the ice last night for the Vegas Golden Knights, you realize that like there's a willingness to acquire guys and then move on from them and acquire new guys at any rate where they think, okay, these players are going to change our franchise and put them in the right direction to win. You know, they're willing to move off of guys so quickly, and it's a negative if you is coming from the player standpoint of like, hey, we want to stick around here for a long time. But if you're just strictly building a team from a cold-hearted perspective in that we want to win the Stanley Cup, the way they operate is the correct way.
Yes, and you know I constantly compare the NBA to the NHL and the NHL to the NBA. We talk about Masai Ujiri's willingness to trade DeMar DeRozan. You know what move often gets pushed to the wayside? And I think it's a better comparable for what the Golden Knights did to Marc-Andre Fleury. The Raptors gassing Dwayne Casey. Coach of the year.
Yeah.
You know,
he wins it after being fired.
Wins it and then takes the most miserable picture of all time.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, he beat the Raptors, I think, every time they went to Detroit, right?
Detroit's been one of the worst basketball teams in the last few years, and they have an unreal record versus the Raptors.
We could win 4 games all season as long as it's the 4 against the fucking Raptors.
But like, you look at the important pieces, and they got Chandler Stevenson for a 5th round pick from the Washington Capitals.
Oh my God.
And like the move to get rid of Nate Schmidt just to dump the contract, and then you see where they just
always call Vancouver.
Yeah, they give him to Vancouver. It's $5.9 million, and all they get back is Elias Pettersson.
Well, if Talon's there, call.
Wait, what?
The other one.
Oh. I was like, I don't remember that in Trade Trees. Oh, shit.
And then you remember the Dodonov situation where they move him for Shea Weber's contract. They had just acquired Dodonov last offseason.
Yeah.
You know, and then a year later.
They tried to trade him.
And then they acquire him in the offseason of 2021 for Ryan Reeves, who was a Vegas Golden Knight at the time. He was very famous,
very popular.
Yeah. And then so they move him. They move Ryan Reeves, and they actually acquired Dodonov for Nick Holden. My bad. And then they trade him less than a year later in the Shea Weber deal, and then they move Shea Weber's contract again to the Coyotes because they want the cap space.
Speaking of Coyotes, oh wait, no, he was a former Coyotes goalie, but they got him from the Sharks. Aiden Hill.
Aiden Hill was a 4th round pick last offseason. They made the trade with the Sharks.
4th round pick next year.
Yeah, 2024 4th round pick.
Wow.
And then Barbashev in the big Zach Dean Barbashev swap.
Oh, big swap.
That dude's so important to this fucking franchise and their Stanley Cup victory.
Petro with his 2nd cup last night, but Barbashev too?
Barbashev too, yeah.
Barbashev too, baby?
Phil got 3.
What was that deal? Oh, it was Zach Dean.
Zach Dean, yeah.
He was a former first, I think.
Mm-hmm. And they don't care about having a 1st round pick.
Man.
And then you think about, you go out and you make the Jonathan Quick trade just to have some support for your 5 goaltenders that are running. You know?
I've told the story a few times, but I always like repeating it when he does well. I met Ivan Barbashev at the 2014 draft in Philly, and he walked up to me because he's like, "Oh, I watched your KHL stuff."
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
And, oh, yeah, you do videos with Andre. And I said, so who's picking you? And this was day 1 of the draft, the evening before the draft began. He's like, I think St. Louis. St. Louis liked me. And
I've never heard this story.
no, but here's the crazy thing. St. Louis 1st round pick comes up. It's like 21st, 22nd overall or something. And with that pick, the St. Louis Blues select Robbie Fabry.
Wow.
And so I go, oh, shit. Mm-hmm. Oh, damn. I wonder where Barbashev's going now. The 2nd round comes around. No one picks him in the 1st. He's snubbed with their 2nd round pick. the St. Louis Blues select Ivan Barbashev.
There it is.
And they won a cup with him. And then they got a former first round pick for him. And he gets his second Stanley Cup. I'd say the relationship between the Blues and Barbashev went pretty well.
I think so.
Yeah, Zach Dean was 30th overall.
30th. Oh, okay,
Vegas
so late
selected him in 2021.
They hate first round picks.
Oh, yeah.
Cannot stand them.
None of them can play for them, and it's working. And then, like, from the on-ice perspective, they were so shaky to start the game. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the intermission panel, but they were just ripping them for the start for the first 5 minutes. And
so,
but then I was like, the period ended 2-0, you guys.
So I had a thought on that, and it's a bit of a stick in the mud thought.
Okay.
So before the game, all the players were caught off guard by the fact that they were starting the Misfits. So they started the original Golden Knights. They don't play together, though. So while it got the building going, and maybe that helped them throughout the course of the game, it was pretty obvious through the first few minutes that they were a little messed up. Like they were a little out of sorts.
Maybe that's not the time to do that.
It literally, okay, while it's cute and everything, but it literally screws up the first shift for everybody.
Yeah, your entire lineup is out of whack.
So no wonder they look bad for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 9 turnovers in the first 4 minutes of the game or something crazy.
But, get Aiden Hill to make one save.
Yeah.
And like that's about the loudest I've ever heard any building ever.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was insane.
I very rarely am sitting on my couch. I love sitting on my couch. And I'm very rarely sitting on my couch going, damn, I wish I was in that loud building full of people. Damn, I wish I was there. I really wish I was in Vegas last night, man.
The party it must have been.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I thought the building was going to fall down. Like,
I saw just some of the videos. Like more of them will come out today, but I saw like a couple of Jack Eichel in the club with the Stanley Cup, standing on a bunch of tables. And
I want to see that bar tab.
Those Vegas nightclubs, like those are some of the best nightclubs in the world. And you get a bunch of hockey players who just won the Stanley Cup in there. It's going to be unreal. The Raptors flew to Vegas on their way from Golden State. Do you remember that?
Yeah, love it.
They flew Air Drake. They stop off in Vegas on the way back to Toronto, and they have the time of their lives, So I can only imagine these guys who are local to the area, because that's where they play, and the amount of partying they did. And one thing I just want to get in there before we move too far off from the on-ice stuff. One of the most important things from the Vegas Golden Knights perspective on why they won the Stanley Cup is Aiden Hill, number one, and two, the Florida Panthers didn't score a single power play goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs, in the Stanley Cup final.
Oh, I was like, what?
In the Stanley Cup final versus Vegas, they were 0-for on the power play.
They had chances.
Ugly.
Like,
well, and let's throw this in there, Jesse, to back that point up.
Yeah.
They ran out of magic. Bobrovsky had a .733 save percentage.
They gave up a lot of good chances.
They gave up a lot of good chances the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
It was Bobrovsky that got them there.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, like, let's be honest. Let's call it what it is.
Right.
They were outplayed in every fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, like every game.
And
they quote, let the game come to them.
Yeah.
I do think Tkachuk being messed up probably contributed to.
No,
absolutely.
Because that's a guy who knows how to be a timely goal scorer. It's like, okay, Bobrovsky's standing on his head and we just need one, and Tkachuk finds a way to get those goals. And for Florida, like they give up a lot defensively to score goals. Like they don't care to have it's F3, the third forward, come in and protect the pass going the other end. Like they don't care about that. They're all about, hey, let's do everything we can to flip the puck out, try and get a goal on this play, and we'll worry about the other end if it comes down to that. And in Vegas, they play such great structured hockey because their head coach is fantastic and
so fast.
And they're so fast, but also big. They can play every kind of hockey.
They're nothing like yesterday on the Game Over stream. Like, I didn't mean any disrespect to the 2019 Blues. They're not the same. They're not. I think this year's Golden Knights mop them. Well, first of all, you would have to clone 2 players, so that's a bit of difficulty there. But the big punishing, plotting style that Blues team played, this Vegas team is so much faster, so much more skilled, and will just fuck you up. Like, their their fourth line is what fourth lines should be. Like Keegan Colasar was so good.
Yeah. A couple of bad penalties here and there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his penalty was really stupid. But like so was Ekblad's.
Yep.
And like that guy's probably going to be in their top 6
Yep.
eventually.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like maybe the one. He's a first round pick, isn't he? I think he's the only first round pick they've ever kept.
Might be.
Shit.
And Andrew Berkshire sent me a text. Guess how many of their players in the playoffs were drafted as Golden Knights? How
Are
many
you
Golden?
counting the expansion draft?
No.
Okay.
Drafted in the NHL draft.
On the team right
On
now.
the
I
team.
think there's 3. Isn't
In these playoffs.
2.
1.
Who was that?
Nick Hague.
Oh, okay.
That's
Oh,
it.
they acquired the other ways.
The only guy. Yeah, no, expansion draft. Yeah, no, a bunch of them.
Okay. And now,
The NHL draft, 1.
something that'll stick in Leaf fans' craw a little bit is that Dubas apparently wanted to get O'Reilly, Achari, and Barbashev at the trade deadline, and they just couldn't make the Barbashev thing work.
Wasn't it Kerfoot? They didn't want to give up Kerfoot?
I think that might have been what it was.
I want to
confirm that with CJ. I know that they didn't want to give up Kerfoot at the deadline. I just don't know if it had to do with that deal. The other thing is Tom Parashka, former guest on this show. If you remember General Fanager, this was the site that predated Cap Friendly. And it was a fantastic website, way ahead of its time. And Tom was so good at doing Capology that the Vegas Golden Knights said, why don't you come work for us? And he's been there ever since.
He's been there since before they played their first game.
Amazing.
I looked at his staff
Oh, yeah.
directory on Elite Prospects because they do staff. And it says 16, 17. I go, 16, 17? They weren't even around. Oh, but they existed doing research and stuff. They just hadn't played a game yet. And he got promoted this past season. He was just listed as analyst, but I think now he's director of hockey ops or something.
Oh, wow.
And this dude, if I'm not mistaken, built General Fanager because he wanted to teach himself how to code.
Wow.
Which is
Now-
why I said, I don't remember if this was on the air or off the air on Game Over. I was like, if Jesse set his mind to, I want to win a Stanley Cup ring, I think you'd do it within the decade.
Jesse Blake?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you could.
I genuinely do. Do you not?
Yeah, he for sure could.
I couldn't do it in an NHL 23, so I don't know if you.
I think you
could
could.
No,
give
well,
it
that's
me.
because you're a dumbass. But like,
I couldn't,
but you're determined.
I couldn't make the virtual characters do it in the game.
I don't know. If you raise the stakes, you're one of those players who does better in the show than the minors. Like no. If you gave Jesse a decade, forget Bill Foley. You know what? I say 3 years playoffs, decade cup.
No, I'm going to take another run at it. I'm going to take another run at it this summer with the NHL 23. See if I can finally get a ring.
Arizona, ring, ring. Ring.
These playoffs. So with Vegas winning the Stanley Cup, you look back at all the series they played. Like, did they play a really competitive series?
Who is this?
Vegas? No.
Vegas. Edmonton was close for the first
That was
four-ish.
Winnipeg was close.
Winnipeg was not as 4-1.
No, they killed.
I think Winnipeg played better against Vegas than Florida did.
Game one. Do you remember they opened the playoffs and Winnipeg smoked Vegas?
Yeah.
And then
That's what I'm saying.
Vegas won 4 straight games.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, this is a low bar. Vegas kind of steamrolled everybody, but I think Winnipeg was their more competitive. And it's funny because Rick Bowness basically put all those players on blast, and rightfully so. That last game was absolutely pathetic.
Yep.
I was listening to CJ and Julian talk about it earlier this week. Like, do you feel better in retrospect now, having seen the way Vegas played against other teams? And I was like, fucking no. For Winnipeg, you don't feel better.
Oh, with Winnipeg, no.
That means you had a chance to, like, are you kidding me? You played them better than the Stanley Cup final? Then you should have beat them.
They also looked like Winnipeg Jets fan I spoke to was like, yeah, but they gave it their all.